Hello, hello. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Krista White. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Crow Canyon, and we're really excited to share with you today how to provide excellent IT support using M365 in Teams. This is going to be a much more deep dive look into our new NITRO Help Desk. So we're very excited to share this with you. Before we jump into it, a couple housekeeping things I just want to go over. First things first, there's a question box there on the right-hand side. Don't hesitate to use it. So we do want this to be interactive. We want to answer your questions as we go through. And certainly as we get more into the details here, would love to hear any questions, comments you have. So don't be shy, go ahead and pipe in. And then also this will be recorded. So if you have any questions, if you want to be able to kind of reference things back, it'll be posted to our YouTube channel and to our website. So you'll have that. And then while we will be doing a much more deep dive today, of course, every organization is different and there's about 1,001 uses for the NITRO Help Desk. So if you'd like to have a more specific conversation to your organization, get an idea of how this might work for you, we're here for you. Don't hesitate, reach out. We would love to have a one-on-one conversation with you and get more specific to you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our COO, Jeff Priest, and our VP of Product Development, James Restivo. So we'll be sharing all these new fun things with you today. And also a couple things to just share about us. We are Crow Canyon. We've been around for 24 years. We're GSA certified. We're also a Microsoft preferred business application, and we're a California certified small business. So we really enjoy what we do. This stuff gets us excited and can't wait to share more details with you today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Jeff here. Jeff, go ahead and tell us what's the deal with the new NITRO Help Desk?
Yeah, thanks, Krista. Yeah, we are excited to, as we're at this point right now, releasing our new version of our NITRO Help Desk. We're excited for many reasons. One is that the journey in software development, starts with, this idea, this concept, a need, and then as we've been doing this for a long time, we find that, how we build software primarily comes from several things. One is user feedback. So user feedback for us is critical. We engage, closely with our customers who are willing to engage with us, of course, but we the feedback, the feature requests, some of them are sort of what customers might expect, and some are sort of just new sort of one-offs that we think could be an interesting add-on to the product. So we're constantly evaluating those and then looking to integrate those into the solution. So the product we have today that we're going to show you is a culmination of a lot of feedback, a lot of internal discussions, research of the market, what's trending out there in the IT help desk space, ITIL, et cetera. So anyways, we're excited to show that to you today. Now, what's new? The next slide I think talks about what we have as sort of existing features. We'll kind of talk about that. But above and beyond our standard help desk that we've offered, that I think we probably have some existing customers on this webinar as well, and then some that aren't customers. But beyond the intake of tickets and some of the features around building automation and routing and approvals, et cetera, we have a list here of some new features that we've integrated into our new NITRO Help Desk. For one, just by the way, NITRO Help Desk is a rebrand of the Crow Canyon Help Desk, which was what we've called it for years and years. NITRO is now the rebrand, so this is kind of the official launch and rebranding of this product, as all of our products will fall under the NITRO branding. So we got things like detailed time tracking, this KPI reports, which are have been a request that's come in from multiple angles. Service level agreements, SLAs. So James will do a deep dive in all these, and as we get into this and show you how we set up SLAs, I think that's one of those things that for us, we're super excited about that because it's been an ongoing request for quite some time, and we finally got a full comprehensive SLA feature in place. Surveys. So, as closure of a ticket, sending surveys out, and kind of getting an understanding of customer satisfaction. So you can manage the business based on this, what we call CSAT, coming from customers and their level of satisfaction, how you can drive continuous improvement in the organization. Integration with Teams. I think most of us today, if we're in M365, Team is a space that we live in, that we work in. We do, everything from meetings like this, whether it be video call or collaboration, et cetera. Teams is becoming increasingly more important to organizations, and hence, us continuing to drive additional integration into Teams. Our NITRO Engage bot. So NITRO Engage bot, if you don't know what that is, in terms of our particular product or feature within the tool, it's really around self-service, driving self-service, engaging. We call it Engage, and it is a bot, right? Because it is an automated system, but it's really around driving self-service, making things more efficient, quick, and it's really the intent is to do more with less. Can we leverage that to provide a better experience to our customers? Now with the economic conditions out there, I think all of us are kind of forced to try to figure out ways to be more efficient and do less with in terms of human interaction. And then of course the last right here is the mobile friendly. We live on mobile devices. I happen to be sitting on a laptop that I actually consider mobile, and then I have my cell phone as well. I'm out and about. It's now critical for us. It's critical for you, and we continue to focus on that. So again, usual features. I mean, look, the help desk, we've had this product around for a long time. This right here doesn't actually do our solution justice, because there's a lot more into our current help desk. It's a very full-featured desk as it sits, prior to this new release, anyways. But the intake of tickets, tracking of tickets, auto assignment of tickets, skills-based routing. I mean, there's a whole lot that's there in terms of managing the ticket load as it comes in, the communication, to the actual submitter, and keeping them up to date. There's a lot that's already there, but ultimately, we're taking that core that we had, and we've enhanced it with all those features I just went over. Now, we have a couple different packages. So we have we call our help desk standard. So NITRO Help Desk Standard is our basic desk. It's fantastic for, well, I mean, it could be used for any organization, but primarily we see that, when someone has like, look, I just need a help desk as a ticketing solution, standalone, that's it. It's a great option. Then we have our professional, which really is kind of expanding that out, where we have we call our asset management. So if you're looking at IT assets, or any assets for that matter, if they're connected to tickets, we want to have a system in place that allows us to say, hey, ticket came in. It came in, for example, I'm sitting on a MacBook Pro, and it came from Jeff Priest, which is me. They know that from AD. It goes out and makes a connection to the actual laptop that's been assigned to me. They know what it is. They know when it was purchased. Is there a warranty? So in managing it, it helps to enhance the management of these tickets and resolve these issues with regards to hardware and assets in a much more efficient way. So that's our professional desk. And then as we go beyond there, we have this, what we call our NITRO Help Desk bundles, which could include that. It could include things that, that continue to bolt on, for example, contract management. Well, maybe you have warranties, or there's contracts or service contracts or whatever that might be associated with tickets that come in. So it's really about connecting all these pieces, and allows you to customize the solution based on our NITRO Studio platform, our sort of pre-configured applications, sort of use case based applications like help desk, contract management, asset management, et cetera. So we can expand. You can start. It's very scalable. You can start, for example, with the standard, move on and start bolting on as your needs continue to grow. Now, I think that this is where we're going to get right into the demo, just do a show and tell. So James, he's the master. He owns the products. He's the guy that is the one driving all the change. And so we're going to turn it over to James. I think he's the best person to position to to share his accomplishments, with the team in developing the new features on NITRO Help Desk. There you go, James. Take it over. I think you're on mute, buddy. I think that.
I am. I apologize for that. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm gonna switch over to my screen and go through the new features that we have in this NITRO Help Desk. Some of the really cool things we added in that are going to really, I think move the needle as far as what this application can offer and what it can do. Sure, I'm sharing that. Looks like I've got the right thing. Hold on, just gotta move something out of the way. All right. And can everyone see this? Jeff, Krista, you can see my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to kind of walk through that bullet list that was presented in the PowerPoint a little bit earlier about detailed ticket tracking, surveys, SLAs. We're going to walk through all that in more detail. And as Jeff mentioned, there's a lot more to this help desk than what you're seeing now. These are just the new things we've added, but there's a lot that's already in there. And we really encourage you, if you're interested in getting a deeper dive, you can schedule a one-on-one demo. We'll give you some information on how to do that towards the end of the webinar. It's sales@crocanyon.com, hello@crocanyon.com, wherever you want. We can go through those more deeper requirements and show you really all the full features of this. And it's a little more than what we can cover today. We really just want to focus in on these new things that we're giving you in this help desk. And so what I want to focus on are all these new reports we have. We have more detailed KPI reports, more detailed time tracking. A lot of that's related to that new SLA feature that we have in here as well, which I'll walk through how that's set up and how that works. I think you'll be, hopefully impressed by that. But just kind of walk through these different reports that we have. There's ticket trend data, there's ticket performance surveys, and I'll just go through each of these and show you what we offer. And like anything else in our help desk, it's fully configurable. If you want to add more reports, different types of reports, that can be done. So we're going to see on this kind of ticket load screen, ticket load tracking performance is how many open tickets do you have by priority and by category, and you can see the category by hovering over that and seeing where your pain points and categories are still open. Open tickets by category and issue type. So now you get a little more granular into seeing which issue types are hitting your system more frequently than others and staying open longer. And then of course you got your staff load. How are your tickets distributed? There's that auto assignment. There's even skills-based assignment that we have in there. So you can kind of see how that's working and how that is working towards a balance of load with your staff. And maybe Ryan works more hours so he gets more tickets, or and John doesn't work as many, or maybe there's a mismatch in how you're assigning those tickets, and John's not getting as many as he should. Maria's getting not that many either. So you can kind of look at that and rebalance how your tickets are distributed by changing who the assignees are or changing how those tickets are auto assigned. By default in the system, it will auto assign to the person who has the fewest tickets assigned. So these guys should get new tickets as they come in if they're auto assigned to them. So it just gives you actionable data to work from. Similarly, we have ticket trends where you can see how are your tickets coming through by week, how many are coming through open and closed on each day, how many have been open and closed in the last 7 days, how many tickets have each staff member closed in the last 180 days. And of course, like I said, that's all configurable as well. It can change those metrics. And you can see, Maria's closed a lot. That's why she only has 2, because she closed a whole bunch, versus other people have not closed as many in the last few months. We're also going to look at ticket performance. So this ties right back to our service level agreement feature that we're going to go into in a little bit more detail later. You can see what's the first response time average, what's the first response time average by category, by priority, how many hours to assign it. So you get really more detailed time tracking about what is happening with your tickets as they come in. How quickly are they assigned? How quickly are they assigned by category? Software, for some reason, takes a lot longer than the others. Now you can have some actionable information and can dig into why is that the case. Maybe whoever's responsible for software is just not updating the system in a timely manner, or maybe they don't know that they're getting, maybe there's something with their email, they're not getting, so you can kind of use this information and dig deeper into what is going on. Hours to resolve, how long is it taking to resolve by category and also overall. And then you have how long is it taking each staff member to resolve. So again, this can tie back into, okay, why is Enoch taking, longer than everyone else in hours? Why is he taking 27 hours where, Craig is only taking 6 hours to resolve? What's going on there? Is it the type of ticket? Maybe that's natural because based on the type of ticket that's being assigned, it's going to take longer. Or maybe you can see that as a problem that you need to take action on. So really it's just about giving you that information. Jeff talked about CSAT, customer satisfaction. We have these survey reports that are tied to our service satisfaction surveys. And this shows you what's the quality of that support that you're giving to your team or to your staff or to your end users. Are they satisfied? Are they not satisfied? Maybe there's no response. Maybe they're not responding at all to the survey and you need to change up how that survey is delivered. What's the quality of the service? What are the responses by question? And I'll show you how to set up these questions in a little bit. What are the rating levels? What's your satisfaction by category? So maybe one category is creating more satisfaction than other categories. Why is maybe maybe your staff member is too gruff with the people and the end users, and they're like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm not really satisfied with their answer. You can dig into that stuff. And what's the rating by staff? Like how are they? You can track how is your staff being. What's the reaction? What's the customer reaction to each of your staff members? And maybe you can have conversations if it's not good, or if it's great, you can send out praise. So this really just gives you the metrics and the data to make those decisions on what you need to do. And then we also have SLA reports where you can dig in. Pardon me. We can dig in to see how's your staff performing based on the service level agreements that you have in place with your company. And you can have one default policy that everyone, all the tickets apply to, or you can have multiple default, multiple policies based on conditions. I'm going to dig into that in just a little bit. How many tickets are overdue by the week? How many SLAs are being breached? So that gives you a lot of great information to see, who's not doing what they're supposed to do. What's their breach by category issue type? SLA breach by priority. Hopefully high priority tickets aren't being breached all that often, but if they are, you can kind of dig into it. And the other thing too I didn't mention is that all this information is clickable, or can be, if it's not out of the box, it can be made clickable where you could click on this one item, and it is actually clickable. So it will come up and show you, here's that one item, you can dig into it a little more, here's the requester, here's the assigned staff, what's the status of the ticket. You can dig in and get more granular with that information by clicking on the items and actually digging into it. So that's true on all these. You can just click through and see that information. And then it's about the responses and the breaches, right? So you want to make sure, these are as close to zero as possible in the normal operation of a help desk, right? Or maybe you need to change the SLAs. Maybe they're too aggressive. Maybe it's just too much to expect a ticket to be resolved or attended to within 1 hour, or whatever your SLA is. And then you can adjust as needed and say, what, our SLAs are really unrealistic. Hey, management, we really can't get to these things within the 2-hour time frame that you want us to. Here, all my staff are breaching this SLA. We know Ryan's an excellent employee. He's still breaching the SLA. So you got, you can take action on that and maybe bring it up to management and say, hey, your expectations are off, or hey, we can actually tighten that up. We can make our SLAs a little tighter and provide better service than we have been. So that's really what it's all about, is that information. So we have all these, dashboards, KPI reports in here that you can use for those types of purposes. Now, the next thing I want to dig into is our service level agreements. So we built this whole service level agreement construct within the help desk that will give you a lot of flexibility in how you apply those service level agreements and when you apply those service level agreements. So to start out at the web level, you can define what's your work week look like. Do you can include Saturday and Sunday? Is it only Monday through Thursday? What's your workday start time and end time, which will be based on the regional settings within your SharePoint site? for Eastern time, be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, of course. So that's your kind of general settings for the application of the SLA. And the SLA can be applied on the business hours level, or it could be applied on the calendar hours level. But this gives you a way to set that up to say, what are my business hours? When do we want to, how do we want to calculate these SLAs? On the list level settings, you're going to get a little more granular in how you're going to configure these policies eventually, where you have your priority column, which typically is going to be priority. You have your due date column, which is typically going to be due date. You have your resolution due hours column, which is optional, so we have a none status here, but you could create a date column to capture how quickly you want that issue to be resolved. And here you can set your SLA to calculate based on the calendar or based on the business time, and that business time being what we just were looking at the web level settings. So it could be, if a ticket comes in at 4 p.m. on Friday, your day ends at 5 p.m. on Friday, and it's a 2-hour SLA. Well, guess what? That ticket's going to be due on Monday at 9 a.m. if you start at 8, rather than Friday at 6 p.m. when no one's working, right? So you can use the business time versus the calendar time. Whereas if you're a 24/7 operation, calendar time is going to make more sense, where you have people monitoring the tickets overnight and responding to them, and you expect them to respond within a timely manner. And then we can calculate when we're going to apply that SLA, whether it's when something changes on the ticket to change which policy actually gets applied, or we could do it based on when the ticket is first created. Then we also added in some conditions to say, I want to pause that SLA, I want to stop it and put it on hold for until the request status changes. When the request status is moved to a different status, now that's going to consider the resumption of that SLA calculation. And then when is it going to be completed? So we have these standards out of the box for these different statuses, but certainly you could add your own statuses if you wanted to create other on hold conditions, pause conditions, or resume conditions. Request status is waiting on customer feedback, waiting on, maybe you had to ship off a component to another outside vendor and you have no control over when they get back to you. So you don't want that to ping your SLA. So you want to create a request status that accounts for that situation, and you can add it in here. So it certainly allows for all of that. And then when you actually create the policies, you can create, we always recommend creating one default policy at least, and then you can add other policies based on conditions further down in the process. So when you configure your policy, you give it a name, what type is it, SLA or an OLA, which is an operations level agreement versus a service level agreement. Operates the same way, just a different way to say it. What's the description of that policy? And when do you want that start date? So this goes back to that, do you want to calculate from when the policy or when the item was changed, or do you want to calculate that policy from when the item was created? And then you can put some conditions around it. This being the default policy, we're not going to put conditions around it, but you could put things like department, for instance, like the requester department is a certain value, or within a certain group, it's finance, at condition, requester department equals IT. You can add that in there and say, okay, this policy is only going to apply for these departments or within these conditions. And then that'll allow you to create all these different policies. Of course, for a default policy, we always recommend no conditions. That way it captures all the tickets. If they don't meet any of the criteria of any of the other policies, default policy will apply no matter what. And then you want to look at, when's your first reply due? Is it due in 15 minutes? Is it due in 20 minutes? Based on it being a high priority ticket, low priority ticket, or normal priority ticket. So you can change that expected response time based on the priority of the ticket that's come in. And then what's your expected resolution time, right? So if it's a high priority ticket, you want it to be resolved within 1,440 minutes, which I think is what, 12 hours, something like that. I don't know, maybe 20, whatever it is, you want to resolved within that particular type of time. Low priority and normal priority, of course, will be different, maybe different as well, or they could all be the same, up to you. Escalation workflow on breach. So what's going to happen if that workflow, if that SLA time is not met? Who do we notify? When do we notify them? Well, we can send a reminder that the ticket is going to become overdue. And then we can also set up an escalation workflow to reassign it to someone else and notify your manager, say, hey, this ticket wasn't responded to, it wasn't closed in the right amount of time. We're going to create a workflow to cover that scenario.
Hey, James, can I jump in real quick and interrupt? So we have some questions coming in about SLAs.
Yeah.
One question is, do we have any default configurations of SLAs just out of the box?
This is it. This is what you're looking at, the default policy that will be there when you install the product.
So there'll be a number of sort of SLA, policies that are already pre-configured, but can be changed or customized, or you can add additional policies as well.
You can add additional policies. It'll come with one default policy, which we'll mark it as enabled. And as we go through the setup with you, because we do walk through product overview, we'll do training with you. This will be part of the setup process, is to help you understand how this works. If you want that default policy to be enabled, which you could always just toggle that off, very easy, click of the button, and click of that button, and you're done. Now it's disabled. And then you can always re-enable it like that. Click of the button, now it's enabled. So you have that flexibility to turn it on, turn it off. And then as you add new policies, you can you can disable them until you're ready to enable them. Basically turn them off, hide them, and then you can enable them as needed. I did see a question come in, does it consider business hours or weekends? That's coming from the web level settings that we were looking at a little bit earlier, where you can determine whether it should or not. That's up to you. Does it consider business hours or weekends? Do you want it to? Up to you. You make that decision. So we're giving you the control of that part of the process, so you can decide if it should or should not include that time.
Another question as well is in terms of multiple people working on one ticket.
Okay.
How do you handle the SLA when there's a handoff? Or is the SLA just attached to the ticket itself, or is there something that also can be attached to the technician?
That's a good question. The SLA was going to be attached to the ticket itself, so it'll follow the ticket, whomever it is assigned to.
Perfect.
And yeah, so it won't be based on the person. It'll be based on the ticket itself and the conditions around that ticket.
Great.
All right. Great. Happy to field any other questions as they come in. If you don't have them right now, you can send them in after the fact. That's fine. So the next thing I want to talk about, we got the SLAs that will allow you to determine how quickly your team should respond and set up those escalations for if they don't respond in time or if they don't resolve the ticket in time. Ultimately, it comes down to what's the level of service that was provided. Was it satisfactory or was it not satisfactory? And similar to SLA, we've got a sort of out-of-the-box default configuration of these surveys that will go out to end users. You can see that it's attaching the case ID to that survey, so you can tie it back to an actual individual ticket and see who was responsible for that ticket and responsible for that rating. And when you open one up, it's just going to be very simple query. Were you satisfied? Were you not satisfied? What's your rating of these different metrics, 1 to 5? And you can see, satisfied, not satisfied. And here's how you can rate each of these different things. But this is, again, like everything, very configurable. So you can add more questions, you can add more ratings, you can change the scale. I actually really love this new ratings column that we have for NITRO, which you can apply for any NITRO-based site that you might have, whether it's our help desk or a different application that you're using. You can use this ratings column. And what I wanted to do is show you how this is configured, because it gives you a lot of options and how you can play around with it. So I popped open our NITRO form where this is configured. You can see you have your options of satisfied, not satisfied, and then you have your ratings column in here where you can set your 1 to 5 scale. And if you edit the settings, you can see you have the option to add new sub questions. So you have these 4, but you can add other ones. You can change the ones that you have and get that, make that adjustment. You can change the range. So if you wanted to add another range option to 6, so let's do it 6. I think we can add that button for 6. Now we hit OK, apply. You'll see now it goes to 1 through 6 scale instead of 1 through 5 scale. You do 1 through 10, 1 through 7, whatever you want. You can also give these names specifically. So if you want to change this from 1 to, you can change it to no good, really bad, poor, like very poor. That's a very common one at the low end of the scale, very poor, right? So you can say very poor, poor, neutral. We're gonna get rid of this number 6. And good, and then very good. And just like that, now you've changed your rating scale from 1 to 5 to a very poor to very good. You hit OK on that. And we're going to, you might want to remove these headers, but I'll just kind of show you what it looks like right now is that you've changed those. And now that's what people are going to see when they edit or come into this survey. You can also get rid of those range text. If you want to delete that, you could. Hit OK, apply, and so there you go. Now you get rid of that. Very easy. You can see I've done it with a few clicks. It's so simple, but it's really gives you a lot of flexibility. So it's a really awesome new feature I think we've included here in the NITRO tool set. Now beyond that, when the ticket is closed, as part of the closed email that goes to the end user and or the closed notification that goes through Teams, which we'll touch on Teams in just a little bit, it will include this survey. So in an email, they get the notification, fill out this survey, it's tied back to that ticket, and then they submit that, and you have your answer. And that ties right back into those survey reports that we're looking at earlier, where you can derive this information from those surveys that get responded to. Now, maybe some aren't responded to. You can see there's 18 that haven't been responded to. That's a different conversation. But for the ones that are responded to, you have that information and you can take action on it.
Hey, James, I know you have a lot to cover on this. So we do have a number of people on this webinar that have actually never seen our help desk the first time they've seen it. Do you mind just kind of going to the back, just before we get down into the other additional, just go back to the basics just for a couple minutes and kind of say, hey, this is kind of what the system looks like in terms of the intake of tickets. Here's the tickets list, here's the sort of the foundation of the desk. Just spend a couple minutes there, and then we'll get back into all the enhancements. I just want to make sure everyone has a fair chance at seeing sort of the core, and then we'll build on that from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a portal. It'll have a slightly different look and feel than this one, but we have a portal that has an intake system for your end users. They can come in here and submit a new ticket. They can view tickets they've submitted, or they can search the knowledge base. So when they submit a new ticket, it's going to pop open a very simple form for them to fill out. And I'll have to get the license fixed on that one, because I wasn't expecting to show this one today, so I didn't test it. Let me pop over to our demo environment over here. So I know this one's licensed, and we'll be good to go. Let's give that a moment to pop up. All right, so same idea. You have control over the color scheme. You can see it looks a little different than what we were just looking at, and that's something you can control with the settings that you have within the portal. But you can submit, again, submit a new ticket. Gives them a simple form to fill out, and it's just auto-populating who they are. It knows it's me, because you're logged into your system. You're attaching to your Active Directory. You give it a title, you give it a category, give it an issue type, and then in some cases, I forget which one's offhand, but in some cases it'll actually pop opens or show you links to knowledge base articles right below the issue type. So you can even have a link over to your knowledge base. Once you get that built out, you'll have that link right here. And then they can fill out a description, which can include uploading pictures, and then save it. That's it. And they'll get a notification that says, yes, your ticket was submitted. Your help desk staff may get a notification that it was submitted, or they'll get a notification that they're auto assigned to it. And then they can contact the user or take whatever action is needed to complete that ticket. The user can come in and view tickets that they themselves have submitted, so they won't see anyone else's tickets. They'll see their own in here, which ones are open, which ones are closed, which ones all together open or closed. I don't have any assigned to me, or that I submitted, but others would. They can look at the knowledge base and search for an issue or search for a knowledge base, and they'll get a knowledge base article that may give them information to resolve their issue, or they could go and continue on to submit a ticket. We're actually making some other improvements into this area with regards to the service catalog and knowledge base. Those are not quite ready yet. They're still in progress, but they will be there. And those are also features I'll want to show at some point in the future, is what the new service catalog and knowledge base interactions will look like. But from an end user perspective, this is really simply all they need to do. Come in here, submit their ticket, follow up on that ticket, see where it is in status, and they're good to go. They can get email notifications throughout the process. They can also get their tickets created via email. So if you wanted to create a email sync to a mailbox on your site, on your attendant, the user can send an email like helpdesk at mycompanydomain.com, and it'll automatically create a ticket in the help desk. So they don't even have to come to the portal or even log in. They can just simply send an email that creates the ticket on their behalf, and then the user or the technician can follow up with them at that point and call them, email them, walk over to their desk, whatever needs to happen. The third way that this can be handled is through the Teams integration with the NITRO Engage app, where the user can be in the context of Teams, enter in the details about the ticket. They would have to, just hit a command, submit new ticket. I, kind of prepped this already, where you have your submit IT ticket option. That opens up a very simple new ticket intake form. They enter the details of it, and if it hasn't timed out, because I did this a little bit before the webinar, it should be allowing me to do it. Hit submit, ticket created successfully, and it's going to pop open with a card that shows me that ticket that I just created. Sometimes it takes a minute, but it's working. I mean, it's creating that ticket automatically in the background, and potentially assigning it to someone, and or it'll go into an unassigned bucket and people pick it up and work on it. So here's that ticket that came back. And you can see, you could view the request in the browser, but you get some information about it. And that's part of our Teams integration that we talked about, where you have that NITRO Engage bot, NITRO Engage app, where you could also come in and do some different things with it, such as search knowledge base, view existing tickets. And then there's also some actions that your staff user, end user, not your end users, but your staff can take. Like these 4 actions down here, they can view their assigned tickets. They can view all unassigned tickets. So things like that are all kind of there out of the box. They can search tickets, search a knowledge base. So you got all that like right through the context of the Teams app. So you don't even have to come out of this context. Let's see. If you want to see some other elements of the tool, let me back up a step here. It's kind of the general layout of the tool. You have your tickets that are assigned to you at the top. So this is the technician perspective now, not the end user perspective. They can see tickets that they have been assigned. They can see tickets that where things are overdue, and they can see any unassigned tickets over here. And they also have an option to self-assign. So if they wanted to say, oh, I see all these unassigned tickets, I'm waiting on responses for 5 or 6 of them, and I only have 5 or 6 tickets assigned, I'm going to go and work on, these other tickets, one or more tickets, and assign them to myself. So self-assign, that's going to run just a real quick process, assign it to the person who's logged in, done. Moves out of this list, moves over to this list. So they can, could also create a ticket from here in the back end if you wanted to. But they also have options to see all tickets, with different views that we have across the board, all items, all open items, unassigned tickets, tickets needing attention, where this is another new feature we didn't list, but can touch on very briefly, is that if a user responds in some way, like through Teams or through the portal or through an email that says a ticket was responded to, it's going to set this flag that says, hey, it needs attention. So whoever the assigned staff is can come in and know, oh, these tickets have been responded to by the end users. I need to go and do something with that. So that's actually another new feature we have in there. You got all these different views across the top, right? So, some other things that we haven't touched on, and we're a little bit outside the scope of this particular webinar, are problems and change requests. We can dig into those in more detail if you have, if you want to set up a one-on-one demo with our sales team. We can go through all that in detail and talk about your specific requirements and what you need.
Yeah, so, James, I think that's great. Yeah, so I think you've covered what I was hoping to cover, and just kind of give a brief overview. We'll get back into the new features. But yes, everybody on this call, I know that we have, like I said, I recognize a number of existing customers here, and also the number that I don't recognize that are coming here new. Is it's really, really helpful after this for us to sit down one-on-one and understand what your business requirements are, how you want the system to work, and then cater a conversation to that, to each one of you individually, because all of our customers, and what we've learned over time, is everyone's different. Yeah, we have some core sort of baseline features and things that everyone expects, but I think every organization is different. Even if it's slightly different, they're different regardless. And we talk about how this system can accommodate all your business requirements when it comes to the IT Help Desk application.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I mean, just a few things I wanted to touch on to kind of finish up here with the Teams integration piece, and the mobility. We actually have a mobile app we showed in a workshop last week or a couple weeks ago that is geared towards this help desk specifically, right? So you have a mobile app, pull it up, attach it to your help desk, and it's going to show your tickets within that app, and have your users will be able to submit tickets through that app as well. So that's another piece I wanted to touch on. And also I wanted to talk about the different actions you have and different things you can do with our workflow designer. So this is our workflow designer tool, drag and drop interface. If you haven't seen it yet, I think it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of different options over here on the left-hand side that you can run with. You can invoke Azure functions, you can parse CSVs, you can query list, you can simply send email or update items. But I want to focus in a little bit on the Teams integration piece, which is 3 different actions that we have in the NITRO workflows. The first one simply sends an email to a Teams channel. You may not know this, or maybe you do. Every Teams channel, every Teams channel has a email address associated with it. Now, some weird lengthy email address that's not easy to remember, but it is still an email address that exists for that Teams channel. So we can leverage that within our application to send a notification to a Teams channel. So that could be when a new ticket is created, note goes out to the Teams channel. Tickets are resolved, note goes out to a Teams channel. Something comes in that's high priority, needs to be resolved within an hour or 15 minutes, send it to a Teams channel. So we can do that. So that's another avenue of communication, and gets you still using email to some extent, but it is also putting that notification and putting that information right in front of users within the Teams interface. We could also, as part of a process, create a Teams channel, maybe less, maybe less of an issue when you're working through an help desk ticket, but you could use that through some processes to create a Teams channel when you create a project, for instance, or when a problem gets created. Maybe that's within your help desk. Maybe you want to create a Teams channel to track the resolution of that particular problem, or change request. So you could do, make that part of your process. So go and create that channel automatically. And the other cool thing is this posting of an adaptive card. So when that card came back that we're looking at here, this one right here, this was actually coming from a NITRO workflow that created this card and put it in my Teams Engage app. So it's coming right from there. It's coming through that workflow process and going right into Teams. So you can use that in multiple ways to send cards, send information. We use it internally when a deal closes. We have a notification that goes out via Teams, like, hey, new deal. Like, it's kind of big excitement. Like, there goes. So it creates a little ding on Teams, rather than just getting buried in like the pile of emails that people get every day. So things like that. But that's the other thing I wanted to touch on with the NITRO Engage and the Teams integration piece. But yeah, that's that. There are a couple other more minor features, like I mentioned. Maybe there's a merge tickets feature, which we didn't go into. There's the flag where you can notify when a ticket has come in for needs a response. So there's a few other new things like that. Plus, as we mentioned, all the other great features we've had all along. We haven't deprecated anything. It's all still there. It's just now augmented and added onto with all these great new things that I think you'll find really useful in this help desk, day-to-day help desk operation. Now, with that, were there any other questions or anything else we should cover?
Yeah, there's a number of questions here.
Okay.
I know that some of these are we've already passed the demo section of it, right? But let's go back and revisit some of these things. One is on surveys. Mm-hmm. Does a survey calculate on a month by month, year by year? I mean, can you set up intervals or just time periods, quarter by quarter, whatever it might be, so we can calculate that survey? Whether it's a percentage or whatever it might be, the calculation based on time blocks.
Absolutely. So by default, it's looking at that whole list of surveys, these survey reports that are in here. Let me close out of this. So it's going to be looking at the full list here, which you can control through views, and then you can attach those views to the report. But in the operation of this, we do have a filter here where we could come in and say, oh, I only want to show data from the last week or the last month or some custom thing. So we could do a filter for the last week. We were testing this help desk a while ago. We haven't done anything in the last week to test it, so you get 0. But that's the kind of thing that you can do, is you can change it to last week based on some value. So based on the created date of the service satisfaction survey item, let's look at things created in the last month. Well, there you go. Okay, all these are created in the last month. We can do last week. Yeah, that's nothing. And you can remove that filter as well. So that within the report itself, you do have those options. And then if you wanted to really only go back like the last 3 months or the last month and just keep everything really fresh, you can set that up in the configurations of the report. Very easy to do. Just say, look at this view for everything that was created in the last month, and that's it. And that's all you'll see in these reports.
Yeah, this is a branding question that came through, is that, for example, in Teams, the NITRO Engage tab within Teams cannot be renamed, branded as company whatever, right?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that from a branding perspective is, yes, everything within the system, you want to put your company name, logo, color scheme, whatever it might be. We've built this solution to allow you to do that if, and some of our customers do, some of them don't. But yeah, there's a whole branding feature and element towards this. So, okay. Yep. Great. So look, we got about 10 minutes left. Usually this is when we kind of stop and go into a Q&A. The one challenge with a bunch of people being on pause, and then of course I appreciate everybody that has been submitting questions along the way, and that's always helpful to keep things active and lively. so I think that we've hit probably most of the questions that have come in through GoToWebinar. But if you have any questions now before we wrap it up, feel free to just go ahead and punch those in and we'll address them. I think that the one thing that I want to hit home here is that this is NITRO Help Desk as a rebrand, as a new enhanced help desk for M365. It's a new offering for us. You have existing customers that will want to consider this, and we have new customers. So quick question I had earlier from somebody, like some of these existing customers, what does this upgrade look like for them to move to get the new features that we have in the NITRO Help Desk?
Yeah, so we intend to have an update application for our customers. We are developing this only for SharePoint 2019, SharePoint SE, and Office 365. So if you're on an earlier version of SharePoint, you'll need to upgrade in order to get this. If you are using an older version of our help desk as a current customer, then you would have to upgrade to the latest version, and then we can, then we could upgrade with the upgrade application to this version. So it really depends on where you are for current customers. It really depends on what version you're on right now. If you want to do a fresh install, that's always a valid option as well. We could just go and install this as a new kind of greenfield situation. We don't have to bring anything over from the old site or worry about upgrading anything from the old site. So there's a few different ways to do it, and I think that's really a one-on-one conversation we'll need to have with each of our customers as to how we get from point A to point B. But of course, for any new customers on the call, this would be the version you get installed. And I just saw a question about going live. If you bought today, this is what you get. It's live. I mean, this is it. And then I see a question about how to upgrade, and we'll reach out to that customer directly.
Yeah, and then someone else, and I really appreciate this question. We just went through a whole we're going to send you out a link to this this webinar that has a whole section on the SLAs. It's one of the question was, hey, can you show the SLA piece? So there's a whole section in this webinar that we covered in detail SLAs. So we'll make sure we get you that link out. But I appreciate the question, but we probably won't go back at this particular time and revisit all that. It's probably maybe a 10 to 15 minute section of this webinar that we cover SLAs. So so I apologize for not doing that now, but we will make sure we get you a link to this webinar. So yeah, so one of the things, guys, as well, maybe we go back to the deck, Krista, and wrap up. James, thanks so much for doing the demo and showing all the cool new features that are part of our new NITRO Help Desk.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks, James, for showing us all those fun new features. I'm really excited. It's been really cool to see all the new fun features and things that the NITRO Help Desk can do. So thanks again for showing us a deeper dive into that. It's good to get a nice peek. And thank you so much, Jeff, for fielding all the questions and introducing us to today's topic. Again, everyone who attended, we really appreciate you joining us today. And if you have questions, you're ready for just learning a little bit more about how this might look for your organization, go ahead and give us a call or shoot us an email. The email again, hello@crowcanyon.com. And we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks so much.